What up, guys? It's Amon-Rellik, the Godslayer, also known as Christian Dion Freeman. I am here today to give you a little short bio, I guess you could say, of who I am and how I got to this point and what I do. Uh, Born October 5th, 1984, Libra, Cincinnati, Ohio is my birthplace. I guess you could say from birth to about 14 was the time when my intuition about things began to meld together. Like I went through a phase of clarity at a young age, where when I was younger, my parents split, or were beginning to split, should I say, and they were, they both had their faults and the back and forth that they went through. And there were times when, at 9 years old, I spent, you know, certain times alone when I shouldn't have, things like that. And, being an only child, the things that were going on, they say that famous saying, what a tangled web you weave when children you try to deceive. And that's kind of what happened here. I actually was seeing what was happening and partially understood what was happening, and not having anyone to vent out what that felt like, where you were always on toes with, with the, I guess you could say, with the idea that whatever you did could be judged, and would be judged. And that was the beginning of my clarity issues when it came to knowing what I wanted to do with my life. Art bursted out of nowhere, you know, and it was partially because I had no one else to talk to, and on top of that, there was a world that was forming in my head, and there was no one to show that world to. So I would just take what I saw from other worlds around me and draw it. Uh, Childhood was, it wasn't as bad as some of the horror stories you hear about other people. I didn't really start getting into the gang life until I was like 14, 15. So it wasn't like I was 9 years old running around toting a gun or anything. That wasn't the idea. But what ended up happening instead was I ended up becoming a very deep introvert. Even as a social person, a deep introvert, where the only things you saw of me were the things I allowed you to see. And that left me a man who was in solitude amongst anyone I was around. Doesn't matter how many people. Uh, you grew up, or should I say, if you grew up the way I did, you began to see the world from a solitary point of view. You know, where if you grew up with siblings, or if you grew up with a very big, friendship circle, you would find yourself seeing the world in a more, you know, numerous point of view. In terms of, when I say numerous, I mean there's always a need for someone. You always have to have a person that pops in your life all the time, so that you never feel alone. But when you grow up especially as an only child, and an only child in a family that is slowly eroding and eating at itself, you learn how to turn off the need for people. And once you've done that, you become a cold and calculating person, a person who does not see emotion as necessary, because who are you going to show it to? Once you do that, and you become that cold, calculating cynic, you find yourself then at that point literally pushing people away. You find yourself building a wall so that people can't get in, because this has become what you're used to. that is what made it easy for me to become, you know, a gangbanger at the time of 14. You know, building that wall up, building that cynical ideal of the world, that singular ideal that, you know, though there are other people and I physically see them, they do not exist in my world because they don't offer anything to me in my world. They don't destroy anything in my world. So, who are they to me, really? So, this being built throughout 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, throughout those years, I began to slowly not even feel love for my own family. You know, to the point to where I got to this area where even if they had died, I probably wouldn't have been sad. You know, and even to this day, I kind of struggle with that. But when I got to that point, 14 came, and all of a sudden, 15, you know, I saw some things at 14 that like totally changed the way I saw life. And at that point, I guess you could say the part of me that became ambitious, driven, I got a power that I didn't know what to do with. And that power drove me to go buck wild. Buck wild. I'm talking fuck it, buck wild. So now I'm 14, 15. Around this time, my mother's divorced my father. And so she's struggling with, ending a 16-year marriage to a man. And she's struggling to cope with it in her own way. And her way, too, was buck wild. You know, my mom started clubbing real bad, you know, everything like that. Leaving me, the only child, and in most, black families, the child usually stays with the mother. I'm out, 14 years old, coming in at 2 and 3 in the morning. You know, by this time, I'm smoking, I'm drinking, and I'm smoking things that, I can't so much as admit on screen. I'm in it. And, I end up joining the gang. Black Flag. Do your research. You'll find it. I did it. And when I did it, I was in it to win it at that point. I was in it to win it. That's when the gun toting started. That's when the drug selling started. All the while, I still had that ambition and that fire to create something. And it wasn't just a little something. I wanted to create an empire, a fucking empire. And I mean, I wasn't even thinking like new age empire, like business. I was thinking like old school medieval empire. Like I wanted my own clique of knights, type thing. I was a child that grew up loving odd things to be a young black dude in the game. I grew up loving rock. I grew up loving classical music. Of course, art. And I believe being an artist at the heart of me, I'm an artist. And, I dabble in music, as you guys will see. Of course, my art as well. If I can turn my camera a little bit here, I can turn my camera, maybe get it off the little set here, turn my camera. All that over there, that's where Obsidian Visions, that's where it's booming at right there. That's I got a whole bunch of shit right here below me that you can't see, but this is where all the music. Well, actually, I can actually show you over there, Black Flag again. That right there, that's where all the rapping goes down. It's not the best setup, but it's what I'm working with now. You're talking about a guy who's trying to do art, music, of course, gaming, and on top of that, hold down a full-time job and trying to take care of a mother who is now kind of sick. From 14 to like 22 was probably the most thugged out years of my life. Something crazy. Could have, you know, could have very well been in jail many times. Oh man, uh, getting stopped by the police with with drugs on me. Luckily they don't find them. A lot of close calls, and when you live that kind of life. I mean, there's been times when I've had to really be down with the homies I was with. You know, and because when you with the clique, your bullshit's mine, and mine's is yours. You know, that's what it means to be down. So it's whatever. Whenever it has to go down, it's whatever. And that's something that we just knew. And that it came with the territory. So from 15 up to 22, from 14 to 22, drinking, smoking, volatile environment, everybody packing heat. Yo, and then with a mom who was bouncing, saying, from love to love, and from hoping to love. You never knew you never knew where you would end up, and that's the way I end up learning how to live. I learned how to live like a nomad, to where at any point in time I can fit all of my most precious belongings in like two duffel bags. Like, it was crazy. Uh, you know, During that time, I was also very, very avid about increasing my intellect. That's another thing. Is even as a gangbanger, I never tolerated ignorance out of myself, and you know, and a lot of the people around me. I didn't tolerate ignorance. A lot of the guys you see running around right now who can barely speak complete English. You know, I didn't grow up in that era in this new era of gangster where they do that. Like, I, I grew up in the era of gangsters where we could hold very intelligent conversations, very deep conversations about religion, about politics, about social issues and class issues in America, and the global issue of people being separated, by flags, to the point to where we don't even really see humanity as humanity if it doesn't exist in front of us. You know, that's for another discussion. Anyway, what I am saying to you is I did not, and I do not tolerate ignorance around me. You can be as gangster as you want. You can kill 400 or 500 people, sold kilos of dope, but if you act and talk as if you are Neanderthal, you do not gain my respect. You know, because even children kill people. Doesn't mean that they're smart, intelligent, or grown for that matter. You got you got big man children out there, so you know what I mean by that. But throughout those years, 15 to 22, I began to search for what people kept telling me to do. They kept telling me to, find your heritage. You need to go and, and learn about your heritage and who you are as a black man. And the funny part is, I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. But the more and more I began to hunt for my heritage, the more and more I began to drift away from Christianity. That also became an issue as a child, as a kid growing up under two Christian parents, well, partially one and the rest the other, but also began to change my view on the world, and I began to see things an eyes through eyes that were different than Christians. And when I began to actually study and look at the history of not only the Christian religion, but other religions around the world and things of that nature, I began to be a big history buff. Always looking at past stuff. My idol in this world is Nobunaga Oda, all right, from feudal Japan. Look him up. Anyways, you're talking about a boy who, all the while carrying a gun, sought knowledge, sought more than what he was being told and screamed at in church all the time. You know, because it's weird how they operate, how people operate, how parents operate. they will force feed to you what they believe you should know. And the moment you deviate from that, you become the devil. That is one of the reasons why you always hear me call myself that. It's another reason why you always see me surround myself with that kind of an energy. Because I know that 9 times out of 10, you're going to consider me that. Because my view won't be like yours. My view won't be anywhere near yours. A lot of the discussions you'll see from me, especially on Godslayer TV, will be me saying some things that probably will make a lot of you hate me. You'll think I'm cold, cynical, calculated. You'll think I don't care about a certain group of people or a certain type of people. When in all honesty, I'm a man ruled by two things: no weakness and logic. Why? Because that's what's gotten me here. You know. And what I mean by no weakness, I don't mean being literally invincible. No. What I mean by no weakness is a lot of people who are ruled by emotion can allow attachments to other people to blind them from what the gods that put them there to do. You know, you see it all the time. You know, you see it all the time. You know, and that's not. It's not something I'm capable of doing. Like, not to be dark here, but I'll kill before I let it happen. I'll kill before I let this go. You know, my dreams is my purpose. You know, my dreams are my purpose, and that's what drives me every day. You know, is the fact that if it's not for this, what am I here for? It took me years to find this. It took me years to realize that, hey, not everybody is supposed to be, these beacons of light that feed people a fantasy world where nobody, where nobody can hurt you. I've been in a world where many people can hurt people, and one thing I learned is the only way you stop an unrelenting force is with one, you know. And so I live a very in your face lifestyle in terms of, hey, you got a problem with me? I'll simply say this: as long as you keep it with words, I don't give a fuck. The moment you start acting like you're gonna hurt me, trust you're talking to somebody who knows how. Let's keep it at words, and you won't have to ever worry about seeing me. Now, with that, that's the way I've lived my life for the last 15 years. And I find myself being a man who needs this goal to keep me from going ballistic on others and myself. You know, I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, got bad nerves. you know, I smoked for damn near 15 years. Now I'm on I'm on the little vape thing here. So, I'm trying to stop smoking. You know, you know, drinking is still a habit for me, but, I've calmed down I've calmed down a lot when it comes to drinking. Like, when I was about 21, 22, I ended up leaving Huntsville, which is where I moved to when I was a kid. I ended up leaving here and going to New Mexico chasing a love. You'll find on my neck a tattoo of the name of the chick that did me dirty, did me way dirty. I knew her for about a year. This again, I'm like 21, 22. I had separated from the girl that I was with from 14 to 22. A lot of people don't know that, but I wasn't one of those guys who, although I was thugged out, I wasn't one of those guys who constantly cheated on my girl and nothing like that. From 14 to 22, I was loyal to one girl. First love, it was deep, damn near obsessive. She knows who she is. And I separated from her, you know, feeling like, or should I say, chasing something that I felt like was a part of that dream. I was wrong. That was one time I was very wrong, and because of that, I chased a mirage. I chased something that I thought was was that dream. And what really ended up happening was I ended up leaving, going 4 or 5 states all the way to New Mexico, believing in a future with this woman that I thought was going to be the most amazing future ever. And I ended up coming home from work one day and all of her stuff was gone. To this day, I have not. That was back in 2007. This is 2016, and to this day, I have not gotten an actual, real explanation for that. In any case, what happened next was came back to Huntsville. I think 2011, 2000. I think it was like 2011, November, around November, December 2011. I think it was around that time. I think it was cold time. I think it was like November. I want to say December, but I think it was right before December. I think it was like end of November, something like that. And I came back with the ambition still in my heart. Still, I spent 4 years in Clovis now, trying to build this dream with a crew of misfits that reminded me of myself, but at the same time, a lot of them lacked the drive necessary to make an entire movement go forward. You see, the movement that I have, it takes, I could do this on my own, and I'm trying my best to do it on my own now. But anybody that I recruit into what you will know as TDC, which is the family within Godslayer Entertainment, TDC, or the Dark Children, I call them this because of the fact that, yes, I take in anybody that has a truly unique ideal on the world. I need people like that around me. And those people are usually considered demons to everyone else. So I call them dark children. That's what we are. We are dark children. Because in this world's quote unquote truth is the light. And anybody who finds a truth that's not that must be dark. So fuck it. That's what we are. Now, anyways, what I'm saying is, I tried to build that while I was there. Epic fail. Epic fail. I came across some real cool dudes though, some guys that I still consider TDC out there. And once I build this up to the point to where it starts rolling out of control, I'm gonna come see them guys, and I'm gonna see if they still want to roll. If they still down to rep, to the fullest. Cause I know they got some things going on in their life they gotta take care of. Everybody got their own shit. Yeah. But coming back around that time of November 2011, I believe. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm sick. I'm real sick. Type 1 diabetes, severe pancreatitis, total renal failure. And for people who don't know what renal failure is, it's total kidney failure. Both my kidneys shut out on me. Found myself in the hospital, waking up with every tube in every orifice you can think of. Oh man, they said I flatlined several times. They were talking about, quitting on me. Telling my parents they would probably have to bury me. Some people change their views when they go through a life or death situation. And some people actually had the nerve to ask me after I went through that who I thought saved me. I still consider the gods I serve, gods, yes, more than one, being the ones who guided me back into this life because I wasn't done. Not done, you know. And what happened to me was something that in all honesty, I brought on myself. You know, I handed myself to the Grim Reaper, I guess you could say. But they were like, no, you're not done. You got more to do. You know, that castle in the sky, you have not reached it yet. But at the same time, I also knew that that wasn't something that were going to allow me to continue to keep doing. You know, you don't get to ask for second chances from gods. You know. So what ended up happening was while I sat in that hospital, things began to morph. I began to realize that a lot of the things that I was chasing within the dream I had no business being there. You know, why did I need a woman who would be a part of what I'm doing? What ended up happening was my mind began to actually reach all the way back to when I was 9, 10, 11, creating that cold, calculated, cynical person that did not need anyone around me to validate me. And it said that was the key to making this happen, to making Godslayer ENT a thing that's happening, to making success in your life, period, happen. You need to draw on that power that you gained, that power of no weakness, you know, that power of not allowing emotion to play any part in you moving forward. Can I love somebody? Yes. Will that love ever exceed what I am doing? Never. One thing I tell any girl now, any girl I ever get involved with, if you ever expect me to put you higher than my own purpose, you are a fool. Never. Never. And to be quite honest, as much as you can love someone, it's kind of like playing. You're playing the ultimate crap. You're playing the ultimate dice game when you decide to let someone be the ultimate in your life, even over your own self and your own purpose. You play that crapshoot, and that crapshoot can sometimes. I mean, that's why a lot of people kill themselves over love a lot, because they let that shit get to the highest point. And I've been in a relationship like that. Yes, I'm telling you now, I've been close to my original girl from 14 to she's seen me in some moments where I have completely snapped and almost did myself in. That at the height of my emotion, those were the years, you know, between 14, I was an angry kid, So, the game banging, all of that was in there, and I was super emotional. It wasn't until I went back to locking that emotion away that I began to actually get back focused on my dreams. And Godslayer NT is that dream. Like I said, I ended up in the hospital, went through all manner of procedures, and the pains, some of the pains were just out of control, getting fluid pulled off the lung constantly. I had a surgery where they had to remove most of my part of my pancreas, I believe. Just going through dialysis to get my kidneys back working again. Now, I'm type 1 diabetic, so there are certain things now that I must stay on top of, for the rest of my life. Of course, when I went into the hospital, I was 312 pounds, football size. When I got out of the hospital and started making some certain life changes, I got myself down to 252. I've always been in love with the martial arts, and I did a lot of self-training and self-studying in martial arts. I'll probably throw some videos up of some of the things that I'm capable of doing in terms of combat. Nothing crazy, so don't expect to be seeing some movie style shit. I don't even believe in that kind of combat anyway. That's not real combat. But at the same time, I'm a man with a plethora of talents. And from 14 to 22, I damn near almost destroyed what I'm not trying to gloat here, but what I say a gift to the world. What I mean by that is the artistry that I'm capable of doing when I show people, you know, my art. When they're amazed by it, I see them as being amazed by it. You know, a lot of people are like, yeah, you know, when they see something that you do that's awesome, they think, you know, oh wow, that person thinks I'm awesome. And they probably do. But the first thing and the most important thing they see as awesome is what you created. Because that is, you know, that is what lets them know that, okay, you might be awesome because you're able to create awesome. But if you aren't able to create awesome, you're just a person for them to walk past. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't are two things. One, the actual talent, and two, the actual reinforcement to open those talents and give that gift to the world. Not so much as you being the gift to the world, but the talent you have. And I almost destroyed myself. You know, there's a lot of things I regret. And for people who walk around saying that, oh, I don't regret anything in my life, you truly haven't gone as dark a path then. You know, because even to this day, I still there's a part of me that's still out of control. There's a part of me that's still insane. There's a part of me that still likes to, you know, scream and rage for no reason. You know, there's a blind rage that still sits in me that still makes me love to listen to Cradle of Filth. And I can literally feel the charge that comes from music like that, you know, like rock, that unrelenting, uncontrollable rage that doesn't even have a purpose other than just to see the world burn, you know. And there's a lot of kids that grow up that way, you know. And sometimes people, or I should say, having a support group around those kind of people doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes what these kids are looking for is not so much as a support group. They're not. A lot of people think that when you see these, you know, see us rocker style kids, or the, you know, or the you know the rebel kids. A lot of people think that whole old school idea that that person's just crying for help. That's the reason why he's acting that way. That's the reason why she's acting that way. No, sometimes these kids do see the world in a whole different light. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Some of the greatest things man has created has come from people who see shit totally different than the regulars. You know, we've had men in this world who have been killed because they had the nerve to say that the world wasn't square, that it was round. Come on, you know. I'm not saying this is not the time in which that happened. We all know, you know, anybody who studied history knows who that was. But at the same time, we are still the same sentient being known as humans who do this. We trash and destroy anybody who thinks outside of the box that we have called human, no, human logic. And logic comes in many different shapes and sizes, and you'll start to see that mind can be both twisted and at the same time genius. But Godslayer NT is the home for that. You know, Amon-Rellik, as you all know, Amon in the ancient Egyptian tongue is God. Relic is killer spelled backwards, thus the moniker Amon-Rellik or Amon-Ikaye. You'll probably hear that in my songs a lot. That is also what you would call the old tongue, a way to say Godslayer, because that's basically what the word means. Amon-Rellik means Godslayer as well. You know, from 22 to now, I'm 31. I've been fighting. I done spent a lot of money. Spent a lot of money putting together this, putting together, you know, getting mics, stands. I just bought a new graphics card for the computer so I can start, recording higher definition gameplay. Uh, you know, I'm constantly trying to, of course, keep my health together. Uh, it's a long time coming. It's been a long time coming, and you'll start seeing some of the homies as well. They'll pop in some of the videos. Uh, Videos like this will go on to GodslayerTV YouTube channel. So if you ever want to check that out, go to GodslayerTV. You can just put in GodslayerTV, run it all together as one word. You'll find videos like this there. Uh, if you want to check out the gaming channel, just Godslayer Gaming as one big word. You'll be able to catch anything I do gaming wise on that channel. If you want to hear the music that we put out, what we're doing together, you can go to Godslayer ENT, run that all together as one word, and you'll see all the mixtape stuff that we do, where we rap on other people's beats, and we'll do some beats that are not from mainstream artists, that are actually from underground beat makers. We'll throw our stuff on there, but of course, you know me, I always give credit where credit is due to anybody who makes beats that we run on. The original content I'll be throwing in for SoundCloud and Reverb Nation. I just set those up. Once we got a couple of songs we're working on right now in the beginning on some original beats that I've done. When in the Godslayer Gaming, the intro and outro you hear on those, and what you'll hear on this one as well in this video, that beat is made by me as well. The beat is called "Where Are We Now." That song will actually be one of the first ones out. Godslayer ENT is me. It's twisted. It's weird. It's dark. And as fun as I want it to be. Godslayer ENT is me. I'm not out here to so much as conquer the world as much as change it. One thing I will say before I leave is that all of my fans that I accrue through this, understand that we are a family of the 1%. One of the things I've come to find is that people don't understand that humanity is just that, humanity. Alright? The color matters not. The class matters not. One thing I don't like is when people believe that their money and their status makes them unable to bleed. Highly wrong. What I will say is to join the dark children is to understand that when I see you, I don't see your physical projections. I see your talents. I see your views. I'm the kind of person who wants to have that deep conversation with you. I want you to reach in and pull out that part of you that everyone else will call you a demon for. And I want you to take it and create whatever it is you wanted to create with that. And I will put the Godslayer ENT stamp on it. And let the world see that. That is what Godslayer ENT is. It is a platform for true authenticity in humans. No matter how crazy or dark it is. Come see us. Come hang out. You're talking to a dude who's part goth, part gangster. and I'm 31 years old and still a little twisted from being a kid. So hey, I'll get into some other stuff in another video about how I got so good at video games, and which made me add that on to this whole thing I'm doing, uh, specifically fighting games and games with PvP in it, like PC games, which you want to see too. Um, just come hang out with us. Again, this isn't something that you know a certain age limit or a certain type of person can be involved in. We're not like that. Them doors are open as long as you're open enough to not come in here and start judging people. Because at that point, I will judge you, and any judging done to me or those in my camp is immediately judged harshly. You know, basically, we don't like judges. Of course you don't. I don't like the law. So there you go. But anyway, come see us, hang out. I'm done rambling. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a bio of who I am and what I'm doing, letting you see the face of the person who's doing all this. Uh, Thanks again, guys, for all the fans that I have and all the ones that I will have. You know, you are the soldiers. You are the soldiers that put me out there. You are the soldiers that watch all the crap I do. you know, and all I got to say is you're about to see some genius and you're about to see some really twisted shit. And hopefully you'll have fun in between. Alright, this is Amon-Rellik the Godslayer signing off. Thanks, guys.